Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about cooperative care. Now, what is cooperative care? Cooperative care is when a dog opts in to performing a certain behaviour or consents to having a certain thing done to them. So that can be them being groomed, them having husbandry procedures performed, or them having veterinary procedures performed to them. Now, it's really important when we teach cooperative care that we teach a very, very solid start button behaviour. And the start button behaviour is basically a dog's way of saying, I consent to this happening. Now, the reason we need it to be very solid is because there needs to be a clear definition between them saying, I consent and I no longer consent to this. So I love teaching a paws up behaviour on a block. And the reason I like teaching a paws up behaviour on a block is because it's not ambiguous. So a dog either has its paws up on a block or it doesn't. And the reason I like to use a raised block is because it has very, very clear boundaries, a very, very clear edge to it. So again, it's not ambiguous. It's not like the dog has shuffled onto it. They have to very obviously step up onto it and step up off of it. So what I do to start off with is I lure the dogs up with a treat to their nose so that they put two paws up on the block. If your dog just kind of puts one paw up, or even just brushes their paw on the block as they're trying to step over it, I would still reward it. So even if they accidentally put their paws up, I would still reward that to start off with, because in training, a lot of the things that our dogs offer are accidents, and then we reward them and then it's repeated. So once we can lure our dogs up to put their paws up, I want you to feed them in position so that we have a bit of stability, so that they're comfortably staying in that paws up position. So I would go paws up, treat, 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 and then I would say okay, which just releases them from that position, and I'd throw a treat away so that they know when you say okay, it's over, and then they can take their paws off of the block. What I would then do, once your dog is solidly standing with their paws up in a nice stable position on the block, I would with one hand provide the treats, and with the other hand, I would reach over and touch your dog's head. Now, if your dog then steps off of the block, you're going to stop feeding them, but you're also going to stop touching them. What your dog will learn from this is if they step off of the block, the treats stop, but also whatever you're doing to them, whatever procedures you're performing, will also stop. Now, this is really, really important. So the second your dogs take their paws off of that block, we have to stop what we're doing. If the dogs don't find this comfortable, so if the dogs step off every single time you put your hand over their head to stroke them, then do something that they're more comfortable with. So if your dog likes having their chest stroked, I would start doing that. Or if they like having their back stroked, I would do that. So we teach them that actually they can stay up on the block if they're comfortable with having the procedure or the behaviour done to them. Start fading away the constant reinforcement. We're going to start kind of adding a little bit of a break between each treat. We're also going to start doing different things. So if we're starting on our dog's head, we're going to go over their head, then open up their ear and have a look in their ear. Or we're going to go down from the head, down the shoulder, and we're going to go all the way to the paw and lift up the foot. Now, the reason we go all the way from the head down to the foot is because if dogs are a foot shy, if they don't like having their paws handled, if you reach straight in to their paw, they're probably going to go, whoa, I don't like this. And then they're probably going to step off. Whereas if you take it really, really gradually and maintain that contact all the way down, almost like how a farrier would shoe a horse, if we take it nice and slowly, then they're less likely to panic and freak out, because we want this to be a really enjoyable, pleasant scenario for the dogs. When they're doing this, we can start adding in brushes and other grooming tools. So what you can do is stroke your dog's back and then have a brush in your hand and stroke your dog with the brush in your hand, then gradually start making contact with the brush on your dog's fur. Again, as always, if your dog steps off, we need to stop what we're doing immediately. It's really, really important that our dogs understand that if they step off, it finishes, because we need their full trust for this. Now, how does this work? If you give a dog an option not to be groomed or not to have a procedure done to them that they don't particularly love, then surely they're never going to choose to do it, right? Well, I read a really interesting study one time about lizards. Now, bear with me, I know this is about dog training, but behaviour is behaviour, and this really does relate back to dog training, so we're going to talk about lizards. So this study was in a zoo, and basically a lot of the tourists who had gone to the zoo were complaining that they couldn't see these lizards in this enclosure. Now, the lizards had loads of different hides in the enclosure, and what the zookeepers thought was if we remove some of the hides, then surely the lizards will be forced to come out more so that the tourists can see them. Now, what happened was, actually, the lizards came out even less frequently, so they were hiding a lot more. So what the zookeepers did next was they doubled the number of original hides in the enclosure, and the lizards were out all the time. Now, surely putting more hides in there would make the lizards want to hide more. But actually, what the lizards learnt was, when there were loads and loads of hides around, if a bird flew over or a kid pushed its snotty face up against the glass, they were always close to an escape. So they could always run away and go hide in a shelter, which then gave them the confidence to actually come outside more, because they knew they could always escape. Now, it's the same concept when we're doing cooperative care. If the dogs always have an escape, that's them stepping off the block, then they're more likely to take risks and step onto the block. So what I want you to do, guys, is really practice opening up your dog's mouth and having a look inside their mouth, checking their eyes, checking their ears, getting used to you handling all different parts of their body. Because although this might not be something you'll use regularly, so if you have a short-coated dog that doesn't require a lot of maintenance, this is something that is really important, because one day your dog might get conjunctivitis and you might have to put eye drops in their eyes, or maybe you'll have to brush their teeth at some point. So it's so important that the dogs understand the concept of the start button behaviour, which is stepping up onto the block, giving consent, and also understand how they can take away that consent and ask you to stop. This really builds up trust between dog and handler, and it makes our dogs more likely to take risks in the future. I hope this video really helps you, and happy training.